the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome back to the regular meeting of the Osceola School Board of Education for Wednesday, January 8th, 2025. Roll call, Brooke Oy. Here. Jan Carlson. Here. Tyson Martin. Here. Corey Schmidt.
Here.
Item D is public comment. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our school board meeting and the public comment portion of the meeting. Your presence here demonstrates your commitment to our schools, our community, and we appreciate your engagement. Before we begin public comment, I'd like to outline the rules and guidelines for public comments. Time limit. Each speaker will have a maximum of 5 minutes to address the board. We expect all speakers and attendees to maintain a respectful and courteous tone during their comments. Personal attacks, disrespectful language, or disruptive behavior are unacceptable. Public comment should relate to the matters that fall within the jurisdiction of the school district. Please refrain from discussing confidential or personally identifiable information. There will be no questions or debate. This is an opportunity for you to express your views, but it is not a forum for back and forth discussion or questions. Board members may choose to address comments or request further information at a later time. We have 3 individuals on the docket. If they would come to the podium when your name is called. I have Mark, help me say your last name?
Shervin.
Shervin, on that topic of the elementary school.
Well, thanks for your time. I'd like to start off by saying it was good for me to be to the first half of this meeting because it might not have answered some of my questions, but gave me insight into some things that was very appreciated. You know, we all know that there are issues with the elementary school, and it's been discussed in various ways for quite a while. One of the things that bothered me a little bit is that it said, you know, a statement was made that we need new facilities to attract and retain good staff. And quite frankly, if I were interviewing a staff member to come to this district and they said, well, we would work here, but your buildings aren't good enough, I would think, well, maybe we don't need you here, you know, that type of attitude. And I don't think that permeates the area, but it was just something that kind of, you know, didn't sit well with me. We've had some things in the last few newspapers and about the referendum and things, and you know, again, some of the early part of the meeting, those were addressed for me at some level. I was going to pick on Corey a little bit because he had made a quote, but he kind of cleared up his position. And he stated that here in the paper. He said, just talking to people, everyone feels burnt out when it comes to money. And he reiterated that tonight, and I appreciate him being forthright about that, as others did also. There was another part was, it said, the board is trying to consider what they can do to convince voters to opt for a yes vote if there was a referendum to go forward. And you know, it's almost for me like it's not like you're trying to trick me, but you're trying to word things in a way that makes me go, oh, well, okay, I have feelings about this, but I'm gonna disregard those because it's for the children or whatever. And let me be clear, nobody's against kids, obviously, or having a good school system in our community. I think a school system is very important to the community, a good school system. And from what I've seen, and we've been here about 5.5 years now, and what I've seen is that given the lack of you know, adequate resources from the state and the increase in inflation and things like that, that this district is doing a good job with educating our kids. We haven't had kids in the school system, any school system, for a number of years. And you know, it's obvious that it's become way more complicated than just keeping kids from eating paste, you know, it's just one of those things. So I'm trying to just wrap my head around this whole thing. I know one of the things, especially now dealing with the elementary school, early on it was like, we have these major needs. We need a new roof, we need a new heat system, we need security, we need all of the, plumbing and more bathrooms and so then we had the newspaper article, a couple weeks ago, I think it was, where Building and Grounds Director Hunter Robinson and District Maintenance Director Adam Mortensen spoke about some things. And when it got to the one part, Robinson said, I would say the biggest thing is to meet ADA compliance. And I was like, we have all these other major issues, but according to him, ADA compliance was the biggest issue, which was confusing to me. And he went on to say, we've been talking about right-sizing classrooms for students and putting a bathroom in each classroom. Again, I'm trying to wrap my head around what is right-sizing classrooms, and some of that was kind of touched on earlier. But putting a bathroom in each classroom, it's been a while since I was in school, but if you had to go to the bathroom during class, which was rare, as I recall, you were allowed to do that and nobody worried about if you were screwing off in the hallway or whatever. But then he goes on to say, putting the bathroom in each classroom, then the teachers don't have to watch in the hallway and watch the students in the classroom. These things just don't make sense to me. And then he went on, as far as the entrance, we did renovate the secure entrance at the elementary school.
Sorry,
Okay.
Mark, I'm gonna have to stop you there. You hit your 5-minute limit. Thank you.
Pardon me?
That was 5 minutes.
Oh, all right, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so,
Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
thanks.
All right, next up, we have Denise. Say your last name?
Sherman.
Sherman, for
Sherman.
the school referendum options.
Yes, and I do want to thank you, just being here, and I need to come to more meetings so you get more information. You guys have a wealth of information, and it's just hard to digest it as a lay person, someone just in the community, but, when you're gonna consider whether or not to go, let's just talk about the facilities referendum, if I could. One of the things that, in a few meetings and the information that's been shared, was the spacing, and, Becky, you were real good to help talk about that part of it. But, just as a layman, the stuff that was thrown out there was, there's a certain capacity available in our current buildings. And so, it appears that somebody came up with that at some point in time along the way of the building of the school, that there is a capacity per building. And so then, when you look at capacity, if we just stuck with 3 schools, let's just say the intermediate school, the middle school, and the high school, and you combine grades pre-K through 2, grades 3 to 7 in the middle school, grades 8 to 12 in high school. This is just all hypothetical, but in looking at our current numbers per one of the enclosures that was in tonight's meeting, and even back in August, we do see our numbers declining in enrollment, but they are either at under capacity or at the bottom of the capacity numbers. And so you just begin to think, well, why don't people fit in? Now, Becky explained a little bit what comes into play is the classroom size. It's not just numbers. So that's new information to think about and consider. But every building is a certain size. You can do with the insides of it whatever needs to be done if you only had, for instance, 3 buildings to work with. Somebody would help you to configure what your needs are by the students that we have in each of those grade levels. And so one of the disappointments that I had is along the way with all the referendum options was, why wasn't it considered, at least thrown out there to us as a community, to say, what if we only had 3 schools and all the buildings got some kind of modifications needed to accommodate the classroom size, all that, upgrades, whatever security needs to be done, and the elementary school went away. you would absolutely have cost savings with not having, another building to maintain and the ongoing operational costs. So it's those kinds of things that just would be helpful as you think about referendum, and even if our enrollment is going down, why can't we make it with seriously, why can't we make it with 3 schools? And doing the updates that maybe need to be done, all of that. The other thing that comes into play is the desire. We have a desire to have space, to have all 4 buildings, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, we also have to connect it with where we are at as a rural community. We are a rural community. You hear it from everybody that we don't want a lot of development. We don't want to be like Somerset. We don't want to be like New Richmond. We don't want this massive growth. So we only have so much of an infrastructure to deal with. Your infrastructure comes along with extra taxes to pay for all these things we want. We may want, you know, a huge home, but if we can't, as a personal person, we can't afford it. We can only live within our means. So same within our district, we have to be realistic with what we want as a community and what kind of environment from a rural perspective we want, or do we want expansion? And if so, connect with the development people within the community that you're only gonna get more tax money in by growing your population immensely or growing your business community, because those are the 2 groups that bring in taxes. And so if we don't really want that as a community, we have to be realistic that the schools, you know, go along with that maybe we only do 3 schools because that's really what we want and what fits in us as a, you know, as a community. So try to connect the 2 and just see. We can't wish for something, but if we don't want to, we don't have the money to support that. Your tax money has to come from someplace. And obviously the state of Wisconsin, whatever we can do to get our legislators to change things, yep, that could help us immensely too. So you guys are out there going to conferences. If, you know, you want to have community support to go do that, you know, ask away. I mean, we've got to start doing something different with that funding. Yeah, 1993, we're using the same funding calculation.
I just want to add quickly, it's going to be very little detail to it because of just the time tonight, but I wouldn't mind talking to some other point. But like, there's also a special ed laws when it comes to some spacing. So some of the space conversation is, yeah, if we did like a 3 building thing, there would probably have to be some add-on because legally special ed paperwork is a legal document, and we have to have, sometimes you have to have a room empty due to students' needs. And so sometimes if we have empty rooms, that's actually a really good thing at some points, because at certain times of days you can't predict with some students, especially special ed kids, if they need to use a room out of nowhere. So there's a lot of, I know it sounds really weird, but there are certain things that you have to have certain space for that are unpredictable. And if you don't have that and you're not following the legal document, then we're even in maybe some more financial issues too, but that's all.
And that probably came about after somebody came up with the spacing, what do you call it? Spacing capacity for our buildings. That maybe was put in place before the special.
But I just know that there's a lot with the spacing stuff, but I just want to also have you look at, if you ever do some more look too, keep that in your mind too, that there is some spacing stuff with special ed.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Teresa Aki with enrollment, budget, and academics.
Good evening, everyone. Once again, thanks to the board for your hard work, staff, and citizens that are attending. Regarding enrollment, in 2023, we lost 26 students on if we're comparing 2 of the most recent enrollment charts that have been presented at the board meetings. In 2024, we lost 49 students. In 2025, we lost 69 students. The 2026 projection shows only a loss of 10 students. Are these numbers accurate, or are these too optimistic for strategic planning? Our budget is tied directly to enrollment. The 1993 discussion really, I'm done with excuses. We have a finite amount of money in this community, and we need to learn to live within our means And optimism isn't gonna naturally pop kids into your classrooms. This is not a new issue. Please take a look at former board documents that are all out on the internet. Board members that weren't here, take a look at December 15th, 2021. Budget projections showed a shortfall of between 3.7 million to 1.69 million in 2024-25. This is not a surprise. And please do not use a lobbyist group like WASB to illustrate funding shortfalls. These are registered lobbyists that have a specific mission in Wisconsin. When we look at operational shortfalls, we have buses that arrived out of schedule. But when we look at 191% of our software budget already being spent, 171% of our capital object budget being spent, 432% of our equipment replacement, probably buses, being spent, 423 of our employment compensation being spent to date. This is concerning. We only have so much money. Let's talk about academics. When we review student performance and challenges, I know our test scores can't be compared year over year. We know in 1 year they adjusted scores by 18%. We know they adjusted scores again last year. We do know they slid the scores. But what we also know is that 94% of our state meets expectations. Does that gut check? Because meeting expectations is performing at a 58%. What test hasn't changed? The ACT hasn't changed. What we don't see in our reports, what is our year over year ACT performance? Is a 19? Great. Is it gonna prepare our students for employment in college? This should be disturbing at best. Let's look at where we were 10 years ago and where we're at now in our current policies. Is our district homework policy helping us? Compare that to 10 years ago. This equity-driven program, is it helping our students? Look at our district's testing philosophy, specifically retakes. Does this help our students be prepared for the workforce and for college? Look at our parental engagement policies, written or unwritten. Why do parents receive test scores months and months and months, almost a year after testing dates? I know that's DPI driven, I know that's not district driven. However, maybe it's time to find an alternative testing device so parents know that their kids are really, really, really struggling sooner than 10 months after they took a test. Why aren't parents walking their kids to classrooms and taking that 30 seconds to connect with their teachers in the room in the morning like we had it 10 years ago? Why aren't parents helping out in the classrooms and volunteering? Why don't parents see homework and student papers and student performance until parent-teacher conferences? We need to look back at things that made us really, really successful as a district 10, 15 years ago, because our children deserve it, our children need it, and 58% is not meeting this community's expectations.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, item 5 is the regular, item 6 is the consent agenda. Board, you have the consent agenda before you. What would be your wishes? Motion by DeFoy, second by Vice Martin. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. That is approved. Item 7, school board committee report. Item A is the school board committee report from tonight, January 8th, 2025. Go for it, Beverly.
We got the administrative reports. We got to hear from both Ruth and Patrick as far as the special education department report. Oh, Becky talked about the SRO again, and how that can look in our future.
We reviewed and discussed operational planning
Oh, yes, we did.
and consideration of an operational referendum, and discussed elementary facility planning and consideration of a capital project referendum. And, WASB delegate assembly review, and reviewed our special education and open enrollment availability. And regular open enrollment availability for 25-26, so that'll be a formal board agenda item at the end of the month. You can fill in your roles. Sweet. Anything to add from the rest of the table? All right, item B is the student rep report. Ms. Patty Newman.
Alright, I don't have a lot, just because it is kind of one of the slower months and just getting back from break. But as far as academics, break is over, sadly, trimester 2 is picking back up. I already have a math test this week, so.
Hooray.
Yeah. On the 22nd, there will be a practice ACP day. The principal's kind of already hit a lot of my things, so I'm kind of just reiterating what you've already heard, but freshmen and juniors have that, and that means I don't have school, so that's pretty nice. Fifth
You're all
graders.
senioritis, right, Patty?
Oh.
Senioritis.
Fifth graders and some high school mentors are heading to Camp Waffle tomorrow for the kindness retreat. I am one of those mentors. I also went on the Courage retreat a couple of weeks ago, as well as last year, so it was nice for me to be able to see the growth in different grades from year to year, and I think this year definitely had more of an impact on the kids, especially at the end of the day when they kind of have to go up in front of their classmates and show an act of courage. That was really cool. My sister is in 7th grade, so seeing her go up there and my cousin go up there in front of all their classmates and have that courage to stand up against other people, like, it was just really cool for me. So, moving on to social, the ice fishing team had their first tournament 2 weeks ago, and they're currently in 8th place in the state already, so that's pretty cool. You've probably all seen this, but Miss Bender was Elf on the Shelf at the elementary and intermediate schools throughout the month of December. My first graders never shut up about it, so they definitely loved it. They showed me all the places around the school that Miss Bender was hiding. Yeah, they were definitely excited. 5th grade won their hallway decorating contest. The Blessing Baskets program at the high school raised $6,000 in December to support families in need during the holidays. Some highlights from that for me in being in Oscar with some of our incentives was pieing teachers. We had Lucy Hahn, who was also in Oscar, pie her dad in front of the whole school. And then we auctioned off to see like how much money we could raise to pie Mrs. Krenz. So I think it was almost $100 that people had pooled to pie Mrs. Krenz. So that was pretty fun. Mopping up afterwards wasn't, but it's for a good cause.
Preparing you for adulthood.
Yeah, it was super fun. And I definitely liked the way that we split it up throughout the month. I think it brought some more excitement for whatever was coming the next week. National Honor Society went bell ringing for the Salvation Army at Dick's before break. That was the day after we got a lot of snow, so not very fun. It was 2 hours out in the cold, but I didn't have to be in class. So. And then the band and choir had their holiday concert before break. I also went to that because my brother is in both, and it was super good. As far as the athletics, not a lot going on. They're all going well. Wrestling is doing super good so far. Little personal note, the powerlifting meet is this weekend at home. We're expecting about 350 lifters. Super exciting, but kind of sad because it's my last home meet. So I'm looking forward to it, but yeah, don't talk to me about food right now though, because I'm 4 pounds over. So yeah, a little stressful too.
You know, we had a doubleheader for basketball on Monday.
Yeah.
Have we always done that, or is that a new I don't remember.
It's happened before. It's not very often, but it happens.
Do you like it as a student? I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I like it, but we also play Unity, and I know a lot of the kids from Unity, so I just like to
Cause it ends up being a long night of athletics.
Right.
With, you know, but it's kinda cool that both sports are or both genders are represented, I guess would be
Yeah.
proper, and that they're both supported equally on the
Right.
same night, which is kinda cool, so.
It was nice because the JV and C team games are going on at the other end.
Oh.
So during timeouts, you get an opportunity to, it's just lots of engagers.
Yeah.
It's attest to that.
That's how Westlake was all of there, so that's probably right, Unity's in West Lakeland, so they are all double headers.
I'm sure it helps with busing costs.
Oh, cool. Awesome, alright.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Alright.
Addie.
Starting out the last, huh?
Yeah.
The last, this is the last.
5, 4, 3.
Alright, item 8 is improving our instructional strategies supporting student learning, review and approve OHS course request.
So I know Amanda shared this with you last time during her, event report. So the ag department looking at adding a pizza plants and animals course, kind of as an introductory to ag.
Does this increase the staffing time
Nope, this is just an offering that she's offering
in
potentially in
place of something else? And it'll be 9 through 12,
Yeah, so all kids
can get it. Doesn't matter if
they
they're
all have the
there.
opportunity, yeah, to try ag.
Well, as the chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve this item.
I would second it.
There's a motion and a second, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed would be nay. That is approved. School board workshop is scheduled for Wednesday, January 15th, 2025 at 5 p.m. in the district office conference room. School board will be attending the Wisconsin State Education Convention January 21st to the 24th, 2025 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The next regular board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, January 29th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. in the district office conference room. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 1985 1C, concerning employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, individual contracts, superintendent, and board evaluation. Motion by Clayton, second by Jan, roll call for Blake, Jan Carlson. Corey.
Okay.
Yes. We are adjourned to executive session, we'll take 5, thank you, everybody.
Meeting videos, we search meeting videos on Rumble. I can, or search Osceola School District, I try to put decent headings in all of them, so that it picks up with something to search for. Okay, great, thank you. It'll help with some of the background stuff you guys are asking about. Yeah. If you're not at the meetings, if you just read what they put, it's not very informative, there's nothing in the minutes.
All I wanted to bring up was this too. He said, Mr. Robertson, and I'm optimistic that the community will help us with what we need to do. But we also need to think about what happens if the referendum doesn't pass. If it doesn't, we've done a good job of setting ourselves up for the next 5 years. No.
He was waiting for you.